there's no rush. No one's forcing you. No one's pushing you. You have to meet the minimalism deadline by this. Hey there, my handsome and pretty little Cobras, and welcome back to the Cobras Nest. For those of you who are new, my name is Mignon Cobra and I make minimalist videos. Today's video is going to be how to start your minimalism journey. Learn from my mistakes. So without further ado, let's just get into the video. Let's get it. Let's go. Woo! I've been on my minimalism journey for 5 or 6 years, and I did learn a lot of tips and tricks. And if I had to start all over again from scratch with the knowledge that I already knew, these are 6 recommendations on how to start your minimalism journey on a better foot than I did. Okay, number 1 is to ask yourself, why are you doing this? When I did this, I didn't ask myself this question. I just got obsessed with the aesthetic of less. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. The bare walls, the empty room. That was my goal. That's why I was doing it. I wanted to live like that. And so that is what I did, and I pursued it, and that's where it led me. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with any reason why you're doing minimalism, whether it be to save money, to live with less clutter. I think just the most important thing is to recognize and understand why are you doing this, and I think it'll save you a lot of heartache. There are some things that I regret decluttering in the past, and it's because I wasn't very clear about my why. Alright, number 2, do research on the life/imagine it properly. When I started my minimalism journey, I didn't really have a direction about what I kind of wanted the end goal to be. I was kind of obsessed with the mechanical habit of just decluttering. That's what I thought minimalism was about. I just thought it was about decluttering, and I wasn't concerned about what was the end goal, so I never did reach an end goal. I ended up going into a deficit. I didn't have much stuff, and I had to go out and buy new stuff because I wasn't focused on where was I trying to go with my minimalism, what kind of life did I envision for myself, what kind of life was I creating space for, and I didn't address that. So it wasn't until like I got into a deficit that I had to face the hard truth of, well, what life do I want to live? And once I addressed that, then I was actually able to bring things back into my life, and decluttering stopped, and I only declutter every now and then if it's not things that suit my life. Alright, number 3, stop buying before you declutter. So what this means is that I made the mistake of starting decluttering without first stopping buying. I think that's really important. It doesn't really help to declutter if you are still buying, because then you just kind of created a little wheel. You declutter, you go out, you buy, now you have more stuff, so you declutter. So it's almost like you're buying just to declutter, which is fine. I mean, it's a cycle. Consumption is cyclical. You know, you consume and you consume again. It's no different from food, right? Just because you ate today doesn't mean you can't eat tomorrow. So there's nothing against that either, but I feel like if you're struggling with why your minimalism journey seems to be taking forever, why you still keep having more stuff, it's probably better and more practical to address the issue of buying and what you're buying. If you tackle that, you will find you will have to declutter less, and you have less decluttering stress and regret. What I did was, once I kind of got tired of the whole decluttering obsession, I decided to address the issue of buying less. And so I was more meaningful and intentional about what I did buy. So I found that I decluttered very infrequent, and I only declutter, I would say, every 2 to 3 years. I go through my things, see what I still need or want or keep or what's in good condition, and I just repeat every 3 years instead of buy and declutter for months on end. Alright, number 4, declutter carefully, responsibly, and slowly. There's a good quote that I picked up from Dave Ramsey, which is, anything done in haste ends in tragedy. You want to take your journey slowly. You want to take it responsibly. If you do this, you will have the time and effort and mental energy to be able to address the details. And I think if you do this carefully and intentionally, you will be doing it properly, and it's way better than going way too quick and making mistakes and realizing I can't go back and fix them. There's a life lesson that you learned that maybe you didn't have to if you just took it slow. I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm actually just trying to say that this is the mistake that I made. I went really fast in my minimalism in the beginning. I got super obsessed with the idea, and I think within like less than a month, I got rid of almost everything that I owned. It was very radical, and I don't think it was the healthiest way to do it. I don't regret it, but I definitely think I could have done a better job. So I'm just giving that out to you guys, that take your time with it. I ended up revisiting minimalism again, I think a couple years after I did the initial minimal decluttering, like the downsizing that I did back in 2015. I revisited minimalism, I think back in like 2019, like last year, and I decided that I wanted to be very intentional and be very slow, because honestly, there's no rush. No one's forcing you, no one's pushing you. You have to meet the minimalism deadline by this time. You can take your time time with it and figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. All right, number 5, collections are for museums. This is a really wonderful tip that I picked up from Fumio Sasaki. He says that he's a little bit more extreme than KonMari. KonMari is like keep things that spark joy, and I think that's lovely. I think that's another way to do things. So what Fumio said was regarding these trinkets and things is that your home is not a museum. Leave collections for the museums. And that definitely helped me a lot because there were things that I like to collect. I don't anymore, or at least I have narrowed it down quite a bit. And these include bags. I only own 3 bags. I used to have a lot of jewelry. I narrowed it down to stainless steel and surgical steel and gold. Very small amount. I'm wearing all my jewelry. I also decluttered and narrowed down my clothing to a practical amount, and maybe a little bit more than enough for the week. But again, no collections by any means, and my clothes are very repetitive. It's just white, 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 beige, 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 and some black. And same thing with hair. I don't collect shampoo bottles, I don't collect conditioners, I don't collect hair oils or hair serums. And same with my makeup. I used to have a makeup collection, not anymore. I've been working really hard and really diligently to keep my shopping low and my decluttering at a maintained level so that I am not in a rat race of buying and decluttering. Instead, I make sure that what I have fits in a makeup bag. I'm a little bit over right now, but it fits in a makeup bag, and I don't declutter because then I will have to go out and repurchase. So instead, I just maintain what I have and I use up what I can, and I bring new things in as they need to be replenished. But I stopped with the idea of collections. Collections are wonderful. You know, in my youth, I collected a lot of trinkets too, you know, little figurines and things like that. But I realized that collections, as beautiful as they are for myself, because I'm choosing to live a more minimalistic lifestyle, I have the things that I need, but I try not to let them become into the realm of collections. And this is something that has helped with me a lot because I love to collect, but I tell myself collections are for the museum. Number 6, different types of minimalism. Minimalism is pretty fun because minimalism is practiced in different ways by different people. To kind of give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about, there is Japanese minimalism, so like the KonMari method, but is now practiced by a lot of Americans. There's Korean minimalism, there's the Swedish minimalism, there's the Danish principle of hygge. There's so many different types of minimalism out there that you can go out and you can try and practice and figure out for yourself. And in the end, you will end up developing your own personal flair and taste to minimalism. So don't feel trapped in having to look a certain aesthetic, because that's just one type of minimalism. Minimalism is as different as the people who practice it. When I first started my minimalism journey, I was really obsessed with the Japanese aesthetic of very zen, very muji, very clean, very like clutter free. But as I went along in my journey and I found it to be a bit too stoic for my liking, I have actually gone more into like the cozy, I guess, Danish Korean minimalism, where it's still very neutral palettes, but there's a bit more abundance in the material things, because I think at the end of the day, all of these things are just material possessions, so why don't we just enjoy them? I mean, we do live in a material world, so as long as we don't get obsessed with it and lose our spirituality, I don't think there's anything wrong with a little bit of abundance. Okay, so these are my 6 minimalism tips that I hope that can help you out, and thank you so much for having taken the time to watch. See you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.